As the U.S. national debt approaches $16 trillion, many people are asking the question, how can the Republican challenger be trailing the worst economy in history? How can a man who is currently oppressing the American people with all 4 economic negatives possibly face re-election? Well, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it can happen. If the Republican Party runs a man who violates all 4 foundational principles of the Republican Party, Barack Obama becomes re-electable. Ladies and gentlemen, Barack Obama has all 4 economic negatives working against the American people. Highest national debt, highest rate of inflation, highest unemployment rate, and the highest gasoline price. How can a man who is oppressing the American people with all 4 economic negatives possibly be facing re-election? And I'll tell you how it is. If the Republican Party intentionally runs a man who violates all 4 foundational principles of the Republican base, Barack Obama becomes re-electable. Ladies and gentlemen, the title of this piece, 4 and 4, the Republicans for Obama. Let me start off by saying Ronald Reagan clobbered Jimmy Carter with 90% of the vote. Jimmy Carter's national debt when he left office was around $900 billion. His contribution to that debt was around $250 billion. That's around $250 billion. Okay? Barack Obama has driven the debt to $16 trillion. His contribution to the U.S. national debt is almost $8 trillion, meaning that Obama's contribution to the U.S. national debt is almost 30 times what Jimmy Carter added to the national debt. Okay, Jimmy Carter went down in defeat on the order of 90%. I believe Ronald Reagan took, I think it was 489 electoral votes. I think it was, I'm pretty certain it was the worst political beating in American history. All right, we are coming into an election and we're looking and saying, how can Mitt Romney possibly be trailing Barack Obama? How is this even possible? Okay, we're going to study this, and I'm going to say if Mitt Romney violates all 4 of the foundational principles of the Republican base, he will put Obama back in office. All right, what are the 4 principles of the Republican base? Number 1, pro-life. Number 2, Protestant. Number 3, a connection to the American middle class. And number 4, ladies and gentlemen, number 4, strong on military defense, strong on national security. So we're going to go down one by one, and let's just see if Mitt Romney qualifies on any count. Number 1, abortion. In 2000, John McCain ran in the primary against George W. Bush. He was doing well in the beginning. When it became well known that John McCain supported stem cell research, John McCain quickly went down in defeat. Okay? John McCain was a pretty well-respected guy, great military service, can't deny that. John McCain broke the number 1 foundational principle of the Republican base, and that is he supported, or I should say he wasn't ambitious to stand up for the miracle of life. Unfortunately, John McCain had sabotaged John McCain, and McCain went down in defeat. Mitt Romney is not at all a pro-life candidate. Mitt Romney, his ambition drove him to seek the office of governor in Massachusetts. What happened with Mitt Romney was that he came out, it's on videotape, you can go on YouTube, there he is with Tim Russett. He comes right out and says he would stand up for a woman's right to choose. Mitt Romney, we know, is not a pro-life candidate. Number 1. Number 2, Protestant. Let's just face reality, and I'm not saying this to try to insult anybody or offend anybody's religion. I'm just being honest and saying that what excites the Republican base is a denomination of Christianity like Presbyterian, Baptist, Church of Christ, Congregationalist, and if you're not any of those things, I'm not at all trying to offend you. I'm just being honest. I think you know as well as I know. Generally, historically, that is what excites the Republican base. Mitt Romney is a Mormon, and the Mormon faith, the Republican base, the people who could run the ball into the end zone for you as a Republican candidate, those people, a lot of those people would not regard the Mormon faith as a valid ramus of Christianity. They wouldn't. They would view it like running a Jehovah's Witness for president of the United States. So, number two, Mitt Romney de-energizes the base on the second count. Number three, ladies and gentlemen, some connection to the American middle class. Ronald Reagan had a connection to the middle class. Years ago, I went out to Illinois and I did a tour of the Reagan family home. It was a storefront, and above the store they had an apartment. And I went up and I had my photograph taken in the bedroom that Ronald Reagan slept in as a child. That room was about the size of a walk-in closet. Okay, you can almost put your two hands, spread your arms out, and almost touch both walls. That's how small it was. Reagan was very well liked, and he was well trusted as a president, and people just had that sense that Reagan came from the people. And that was true. Reagan did come from the people. He had the middle class roots that a lot of people trusted. Mitt Romney's been counting money his whole life. He has no connection at all to the American middle class. Mitt Romney has bragged about how he's made a lot of money. You know, basically what he's done, he's turned a big pile of money into a bigger pile of money. Well, that doesn't impress me. You want to impress me, Mitt, I'll tell you what. Give up all your money and go out into this mess of an economy that you career politicians have created for us, and let's see how long you last in that economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Mitt Romney wouldn't last 5 minutes in this mess of an economy. He wouldn't last 5 minutes, okay? He can go on and talk about how smart he is economically. He knows this. Let me tell you, you send him out in the real world today with no startup capital, all right, no access to credit, Mitt Romney wouldn't know what to do. All right, so number one, Mitt Romney is not some economic genius, all right? We all know that if you have money, you can make money. Money makes money. We all know that, all right? So Mitt Romney doesn't impress me, and he never will. The thing there, so third, Mitt Romney has no connection at all to the American middle class. Another aspect of this is that we knew that everybody knew Obama was going to run this strategy. It was going to be rich against the poor. Okay? Obama would run the rich against the poor strategy. This is what he did in 2008, and that worked for him. He played it up like he was the regular guy and all this silliness, and he got elected. This was the strategy he ran in 2008, so we know that he's going to duplicate the same strategy in 2012. So ask yourself the question, why did the Republican Party, if they know Obama's going to play this, rich against the poor, Mitt, show us your tax returns, and you know, we know what the strategy was going to be. It's not like the Republican Party didn't see this coming. Ask yourself the question, ladies and gentlemen, why would the Republican Party run Mitt Romney? Why would they run a silver spoon liberal who's been counting money his whole life? Never worked a man's day in his life. Never had like a man's job. Why would you run that type of character? Why would you run that? You're playing right into the Obama strategy. All right? It's not like they couldn't see this coming. Number four, national defense. Mitt Romney is not at all strong on national defense. All right? The reality of Mitt Romney is that Mitt Romney is a draft dodger. All right? And, you know, where it gets difficult for Mitt Romney, and I'm not putting down anybody like if you didn't serve in Vietnam, look, Vietnam was a very complicated war, very, very complicated situation. On one hand, you had the Russians putting nuclear weapons in Cuba, threatening to bury the United States, so there was a realistic communist threat in the world. On the other hand, historians would go back and say, well, Ho Chi Minh initially petitioned Truman to make Vietnam a protectorate of the United States. And some people say, well, had France just relinquished the colony, you know, it was getting pretty late in history to be, you know, colonialism was getting almost offensive to many countries. Had France just relinquished the colony, the Vietnam War could have potentially been averted. So on both, you could probably argue it in either direction. If you served in Vietnam, I have the highest respect for you. If you didn't go, I don't hold a grudge against anybody. Am I a veteran? Yeah, I'm a veteran. Am I going to run around, wearing my medals on my chest, giving a speech? No, I'm not going to do that, okay? Do I feel as though military service is a prerequisite to be a great president? Not at all. I don't believe that at all. I believe any man, whether they served in the military or not, if they have good foundational principles, I think they could be an excellent president. No question about that. But where it gets difficult for Mitt Romney, it wasn't that Mitt Romney avoided military service. It was how he went about avoiding serving in the U.S. military. All right, he was drafted. They called him 4 times, and 4 times he said, I'm not going. He claimed that he was a missionary. This is where it gets difficult for Mitt Romney, because he claimed he was a missionary and he was evangelizing in France. And the reason this gets kind of difficult for Mitt Romney is because when he comes back from France, and ultimately he becomes pro-abortion governor Mitt Romney. All right, so there's a clear inconsistency here. A lot of people would look at this and say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't really add up to me. I don't see any connection between those two events. Of course, later on, Mitt Romney, when he decides he wants to be the president of the United States, in 2008, he stands up and says he's had a moral conviction toward pro-life, and now he's going to be the pro-life Republican candidate. So we see all these inconsistencies with Mitt Romney. But what becomes apparent to the Republican base, which is made up predominantly of Christian, pro-family, pro-life, middle-class voters, what becomes apparent to them is that Mitt Romney has a history, a track record of abusing and exploiting religion for his own ambition. In other words, he doesn't really respect religion. And this is where it gets difficult for Romney, because he offends the most important people in the Republican Party. If you were trying to run a candidate that would guarantee victory for Barack Obama, ladies and gentlemen, you would run a man who violates all 4 foundational principles of the base. You would run Mitt Romney. No question about that. The Republican Party had to jump over 20 qualified candidates to get to Mitt Romney, to find a guy like Mitt Romney. I ask myself, I say, why is the Republican Party trying so hard to reelect Barack Obama? Is there collusion between the two parties? The key foundational principle, ladies and gentlemen, is pro-life. You've got moderate Republicans. They've tried to win. They've tried to have one foot in both parties. It doesn't work. It's failed over and over and over. Very bad. We know that if the leader respects the miracle of life and is driven to preserve the miracle of life, we know that all the other symptoms of the larger problem, healthcare, economics, war on drugs, immigration, we know all the symptoms of the larger problem will correct themselves. We know that. We believe that. We believe that if you respect the miracle of life first and foremost, the other issues will work themselves out. I know for some people that sounds crazy, but you know something? I believe that to be true. You look and say, why would John Roberts, okay, why would Republican appointees, he was appointed by George W. Bush, Chief Justice John Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court. Why would John Roberts rush to uphold the Obama health care bill? Obama was facing defeat within his own party. Up until the validation of Obama's health care bill, Democrats were looking at Obama saying, up until you got here, we had the legacy of the Clinton budget surpluses, and we were able to brag and basically rub that in the nose of the Republican Party on a regular basis. Obama has destroyed that. Obama has destroyed the legacy of the surpluses. He's driven the national debt to $16 trillion. His own party was looking at him like, look, what have you managed to do in 4 years besides go on vacation every month and just keep talking about the green pasture on the other side of the hill and what have you managed to do? All right, so Obama was looking very unappealing to his own people. Okay, who stepped in and made Obama reelectable? The Republican appointee, John Roberts. You have a health care bill which is thousands of pages long. The U.S. Supreme Court could spend another 6 months reviewing this bill and still not consume the entire bill. Why did Republican appointee John Roberts, okay, who was appointed by George W. Bush, who was, supposed to be the big pro-life guy, why did John Roberts support a bill which some people believe has provisions for abortion? Why would John Roberts uphold that bill? And why did he rush to do so? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The Republican Party is doing everything in their power to reelect Barack Obama. I don't know why this is, but they want to reelect Barack Obama. In the first presidential debate, Obama referred to his health care bill over and over and over, and he proudly used that name, Obamacare, Obamacare. He kept repeating his own name with this bill. Very proud. This was the only thing that Obama could have bragged about heading into this election. All right? It's not for a conservative, it's not an accomplishment, but for a liberal, it's a feather in his cap. But this was the only thing that he could have stood up on that stage and bragged about. That was it. It's the only thing he really could have talked about. Why did Republican appointee John Roberts hand him that on a silver platter and rush to validate the Obama health care bill? Okay? I mean, this is something we just have to acknowledge. We just can't continue to ignore the obvious. Why did that happen? Ladies and gentlemen, John McCain in 2008 ran, and McCain had a history of being a liberal. In 2000, he ran against George W. Bush in the primary, came out in favor of stem cell research. He was done, okay? He was finished. He was finished. He destroyed his own campaign, and then he spent the next 8 years cooperating with the Democrats on this campaign finance reform, which he co-sponsored. It violates the First Amendment of the United States. And John McCain was basically convinced that it was soft money, campaign money, that gave Bush some unfair advantage, which was nonsense. John McCain lost fair and square, primarily because he came out in favor of stem cell research. That's why he lost the primary. No question about it. McCain finally captures the nomination 8 years later, and he goes down in defeat to a guy, to this new guy in the Senate. All right, McCain has been a politician for a lot of years. Why did that happen? McCain violated the first foundational principle of the Republican base. What you had in 2008 was you had the liberal John McCain at the front of the ticket and the more conservative Sarah Palin at the back of the ticket. All right. Now, everybody watching this said the same thing. They said if Palin was at the front and McCain was the VP, Palin would be the president of the United States right now. Clearly, Palin was the better part of the ticket. No question about that. All right, that formula failed in 2008. That failed in 2008. Why is the Republican Party following the same failed formula that they did, that defeated them in 2008. Why are they doing this, ladies and gentlemen? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? You've got Mitt pro-abortion Romney at the front of the ticket, and you've got this conservative Ryan standing behind Mitt Romney. This is the same thing they did in 2008, and look, and they went down in defeat. Why would the Republican Party follow the same failed model? Okay? Why would they do this? It's becoming so obvious to people. You know, we're looking at it and saying, you know, what is going on? I mean, are the two major parties in bed with each other? Is there collusion between the two major parties? Is the outcome of the election basically decided amongst themselves even before these guys hit the stage? Is it becoming just a big show? All right? Is it a one-party system divided into two parts, maintaining the illusion of democracy for what they regard as a herd of idiots? They don't respect us, ladies and gentlemen. They don't respect us anymore. And you know why? Because we've allowed them to kick us around so many times that they don't respect us anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that's going to wake up the two major parties is for both parties to go down, okay, in a titanic defeat. And then you'll see they'll wake up. Then you'll see things change. Until that happens, they will continue the status quo. They don't respect the American people, and they'll continue in the same nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, I thoroughly believe that this is the year of the third party. We did excessive polling, and when we asked the question, which of the two candidates do you like? 90% of the people, it was over 90% of the people said, I don't like either candidate. All right? I don't like either candidate. So don't buy into the lie that it can't happen. I'm telling you, it can happen. If I didn't think it could happen, I wouldn't be up here running. I'll tell you that. I would be doing something else. There are 204 million eligible voters in the United States. Only 104, it's like 104.5 million show up to vote. About 100 million people don't show up to vote. And you know why? Because they're tired of looking at the same two parties. They're tired of looking at the same nonsense. They're fed up with it, okay? It only takes 10, 15 minutes to walk into a polling place and vote. It's about the same amount of time it takes to walk into a store and get a can of soda and pay for it and walk out. You can almost vote in the same amount of time. It's not like voting's a big hassle, okay? So what is it about it that turns people off? I'll tell you what turns them off. The two major parties are turning them off. So this time around, we'll have a third option, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Our goal is to ignite the silent majority, the 100 million people who don't vote. All right? We want to ignite them and inspire them to come out to the polls. That's what we're looking to do. Ignite the silent majority and fracture the base of both major parties, which I believe we can do. Thank you.